Hello, hello. Welcome to Real WW Talk. I'm Candace.
And I'm Ricky.
And we are missing Erin today. Erin is under the weather, so we are wishing her a speedy recovery. You all know she had been doing some traveling, and I think that she came down with something, so she let us know that she needed to take some time. So have the two of us today, but Ricky,
Yes.
it's always nice to see you and to chat with you.
You too.
So I just wanted to check in. So how was your week?
My week was really good. I made a lot of choices that made me proud. I, upped my activity a little bit. Said no a few more times to some things that were tempting, and I was down. I was happy with that. I was down 2 pounds, so that felt really good to just be. I had been. I think I was either down 0.2 the week before or like stayed the same, but it feels good to, not be on that constant up and down roller coaster and feel like I've had, back to back what I would call successes. So yeah, it's a good week.
Congratulations. And again, trying to find those things that are not just about the scale, and I love the fact that finding, like the consistency of what it is, because the scale can be so finicky as a thing to use to gauge progress. Hence my week, because I was up this week. But here's the thing. As you all know, I am currently going through chemotherapy. And what I usually find is that the week of my chemo sessions, I have steroids and other things that are in my body. And so it can cause a significant gain because I like retain water. My face gets really puffy. And I was up like 4 pounds. But the very next day after weigh-in, I was down 10. I mean,
my goodness.
It's literally that big of so I have been unable in this current season of life to use the scale as a way to gauge my progress. Right. And that's been new for me because, as you know, the whole premise, not just of WW, but the way that we kind of know how we feel is usually driven by the scale. It's what we talk about. So having to find other things.
Yeah.
Been, like walking, I've been doing my 10,000 steps. So I feel really good in terms of my update. The scale eventually came back down. Like I said, I'm back to where I normally was, but I also know that I've been putting in the efforts with eating and exercise. I have my green smoothie for those who are watching. It doesn't look appetizing, but it really is. But, so I'm proud of things like that keep me going.
And you can see the difference in your face and your, and the shape of even your shoulders. I feel like you're just the shrinking woman. So in a good way.
I need to find one. That's the next thing that's coming. I want a collarbone.
Well, you've got one. So.
I know. I just needed to show and pop out.
Right. So I hope that you're seeing those differences too. I know sometimes we're the last ones to see it. Other people notice it first, but just letting you know.
Thank you. And again, I always like to remind people, do not blame chemotherapy on this because I will be very upset if I have any weight loss. It's hard work.
Exactly.
This is a season where a lot of people do put on a lot of weight. But, the point is that I feel like I'm being healthy and I'm making choices that make me feel good about my body, especially during a time where my body needs that. So happy about that. But, Ricky, you and I kind of chatted a little bit before we got started with filming, and I made a post in our Real WW Talk Facebook group, and you can find us on Facebook at Real WW Talk. We have over 3,800 followers who kind of really are so engaged. And I have been sharing, because I've had so many people who have been praying for me during this season. I shared about the fact that I needed to focus on rest. And I have been I've had a really tough time with something that I feel comes so naturally to other people. And I wanted to kind of bring it to you to discuss a little further, because we got a lot of feedback from people saying, Candace, I agree. I was taught by my parents to not rest, like that rest was somehow the same as being lazy or not being
Mhm.
productive. And I was surprised that so many did resonate with the post because I thought maybe that I was alone in it. But
Mhm.
I was wondering, have you struggled with that? Because I know, we're ones who lovers of naps and stuff, but do you ever feel guilty for taking time
Mhm.
to rest, rejuvenate, and relax,
Oh,
especially when it comes to like a weight loss, even in the weight loss journey?
mhm, absolutely. I think more so I struggle with it at work. I am like, because I'm in a stage in my life where I'm single, I have no problem taking a nap on the weekend or laying on the couch in the evenings when I'm home. But when it comes to work, I don't like taking time off. I don't like, um, you know, taking too long of a break or, like not to say I've never done that, but feeling like I'll have some guilt or some feeling like a nagging feeling of, maybe if I had been in this area, this wouldn't have happened, or maybe I could help someone with this, or maybe someone needs to go to the bathroom and I could relieve them, or all these thoughts of guilt. We talk about the stories we tell ourselves, and I think I started to tell stories about who is at a disadvantage because I'm resting. And yeah, that's what I kind of related to.
Because it's kind of like, in a weird way, it's another form of people pleasing, right?
Mhm.
Because if I need to rest, and someone says, I'm going to come over and help, I have a toddler, as I have a 2-year-old, and they say, I'll watch your son for you while you rest. And I'm like, no, you shouldn't have to do that. Your mental health and your schedule is more important than me and what I need.
Mm,
I tie it back to that people pleasing
yeah.
that I've been trying so hard to kind of get away from, and this current season of my life is forcing me to deal with. Is
Mhm.
it is okay to put myself first
Mhm.
and to trust others with their feedback
Yeah.
about what they would do to help me, even if it's just for something like closing my eyes for 30 minutes,
Mhm.
even, or not closing my eyes, just putting on a movie and doing
Right.
nothing. I think that, that's something that especially women, and I know we have women and men who listen, but I don't know, I feel like it's a condition that a lot of women too tend
Mhm.
to, it's not valued in this society for you to say, we're martyrs. We're the ones who put
Mhm.
everybody first, and we're the ones who make sure that everybody else is okay.
Mhm.
And when we take time for ourselves, it's viewed very negatively.
Mhm.
Memes, there's so many things we could probably pull up of the lazy woman or the woman who doesn't take care. Uh,
Mhm.
and I think it really affects us emotionally.
Mhm. Do you think sometimes that's what, like, that we even have trouble honestly admitting to ourselves that we need that time? Like, because I feel like some of it is too because we feel conditioned to be the helper, to be that person who's always there and always available to be there for other people.
Mhm.
Do you see that where you feel like you probably don't even want to admit to yourself that you need the rest or you need to ask for help?
Yes.
Yeah.
And I know that it's not good. And that's the thing. It's even worse when you're acutely aware that it's not okay.
Mhm.
Because others will say, I actually think, I don't want to say that it's a bit of arrogance. It's like
Mm.
but it is I am not the type who needs what other people need. I
Mm.
am able to overcome something that's natural when really
Mhm.
that's not true.
Yeah.
And somehow thinking that there's some trophy at the end for doing it. You
Right.
don't get any reward. I mean, there's nothing. I mean, people, and if anything, people will keep taking,
Hmm.
especially if they don't have a giving nature. Like, I feel like naturally I'm a giver. You tend to be a giver, I feel.
Mhm. Mhm.
And so we may not like take advantage of that with each other, but
Mhm.
others who tend to be takers, if you continue to say that you don't need something, or you'll just keep pushing through,
Mhm.
I sometimes feel like it attracts people who are willing to take advantage of that and who are willing to
Yes.
let you overextend yourself past even what you know you need. You know that you
Mhm.
need to rest, and they will say, well, you said you were fine. So
Mm.
I'm just going to let you do A, B, C, D, E, F, G.
Mhm.
And I've seen it in my mother. My
Okay.
mother is that way. She was just calling me yesterday talking about how she was overextended with something that she's doing for a class reunion project and how everyone's letting
Mm.
her do everything. Um, and she doesn't know how to stop it
Mhm.
because I think she gets her worth out of being the person who has to do everything and the person who's
Mhm.
always going. And then she burns out and then she's
Yes.
upset.
Well, that's the thing that I was thinking about as you were talking too. Like, you get upset because it leads to passive aggressive nature because you're like, well, all these people, they're relying on me. I'm just gonna, I'll do this, but I'm not gonna talk to them after, or I'm not gonna,
Mhm.
like it
Mhm.
goes to those extremes of like even impacting relationships because really if it's me in that situation, I've put myself in that situation. I didn't advocate for myself. I didn't say, this is what I need. I need help with this. I need you to do this. Because again, I know we have, like you said, male and female listeners, but as females, we tend to be looked at as aggressive when we're really asserting ourselves.
Mhm.
But there's nothing wrong with asserting ourselves. It's just kind of as society learns to kind of change and adjust with that, especially with women of color, I think, you know, I don't want to be labeled as the angry black woman. So I just, let me be demure, let me be calm, let me be sweet. But then I'm just a pushover at that point.
Yeah. And then we have to give all these qualifiers. See, that's another thing
Mhm.
that kind of frustrates me where if I want to take a nap and I have to say, well, I had chemo, you know, why isn't it just, I just want to take a nap because
Right.
it's the afternoon and I want to, or I feel like other people are judging what it is. And so I have to make it okay for something that I want. And I actually am very jealous of women and men that I see who don't make excuses.
Mhm.
And sometimes I've inappropriately labeled them as, like you said, aggressive, or who do they think
Mhm.
they are? That
Mhm.
person who says, I'm going to go take a nap. I have nothing else to do. And that's what I'm going to go do. And I'm like, oh, well, that must be nice. I mean, go right ahead. Some people have other things. Why is that a bad thing? They're just
Right.
those people who have the confidence to say, this is what I need and this is what
Mhm.
I'm going to do
Mhm.
should be celebrated.
Yeah.
Um, but it's just so foreign to me and it's
Mhm.
so not natural. I can sometimes do it, but I have to be very intentional not to over explain myself
Mm.
or to justify it so that
Mhm.
other people can be okay with it, even if they didn't ask.
Mhm.
Sometimes people look and say, Candace, I don't need the explanation. Just do whatever you need to do. And I'm
Right.
like, no, but you have to understand, it's only on day 3 that I get this tired. And on day 4, I'm going to feel better. No one asked any of that.
Mhm. And you're not guaranteed that, like, what if you still do feel a little bit? What if you still need a little more rest? There, and you've already said, well, I'm going to do this tomorrow because I will feel this way. We don't know. So it's like, why not just let what you say, I'm tired now, I'm going to rest now, be what you're going to do, and then let the next day worry about itself.
Oh, but that is scary, Ricky. Oh my gosh. Because then what if people think that I am milking this? What if people think that, and I'm talking, keep cancer aside, but like whatever in life, what if people think that I'm lazy? What if people
Mm-hmm.
think that I am not pulling my weight with my son? What if, who, I know the answer is who cares?
Right.
Intellectually, I understand that that's the answer. Who cares what other people think?
Mm-hmm.
Other people's opinions are like buttholes. Everybody has it. You've heard all of those statements, right? But I care.
Mm-hmm.
And that has been what's held me back with weight loss and with opportunities at work and in relationships. Everything comes back to an obsession with the way that others think
Mm-hmm.
about the choices that I make for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I know we're talking about it specifically with rest, but that's a big one because that's one that I feel it's a very fulfilling act to rest,
Mm-hmm.
to say, I need to chill out right now,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of what anybody thinks.
Yeah. It's funny that, Weight Watchers didn't randomly pick sleep as one of the pillars and say, track this every day. I think it's one of the things I track even more consistently than food. But I feel like sometimes I do feel like you were saying earlier with the caveats, if I tell somebody I went to bed at like 9 o'clock, I feel like I need to give a caveat like, oh, I was just really tired, or oh, I was bored, or but why? Like clearly it's something that's so important to be included in the pillars of the program. But
Mhm.
why do we sometimes even feel like we like are less adult or less mature or less special? I don't know, if we're not staying up late and doing all the things until midnight and then coming to work and saying, oh, I'm tired.
And if that's the case, then I have been not special since I was like 10 years old. I have never, ever been that person. I'm that one that's in
Mhm.
bed by like 8, 9 o'clock.
Yeah, I have been too.
And that's one thing that when I met my husband, uh, you talk about knowing that someone's your one. Um, we used to be ones who, when we initially started dating, we
Mhm.
stayed up till 3, 4 o'clock in the morning talking. And then
Mhm.
we both were like, this is just want to be very clear. This is not who we are. And when we stopped trying to impress each other, 8 o'clock came, we were like, oh, this was great. Time to go to bed. It's time to go to sleep. And I said, I could marry you. I could marry you because I'm definitely, that person.
Mhm.
But in our, especially when you're younger, the thought
Yeah.
is that you have to be out and you have to be doing things. And some
Mhm.
people are, and that's their nature.
Mhm.
But don't be that person who invites me to a party that starts at like 9, 10 o'clock. Because that's just, you must not know me. Because by that
Mhm.
time, I'm hopeful I'm in bed and have some Netflix on in the background.
Yeah.
So
Well, so how does for you when you don't get the right amount of sleep, or like how does that impact your food choices in the next day, or like even your exercise choices, all of that in the next day?
mhm. I think that it affects me in terms of like the intermittent tiredness. Like, I'm not
Mhm.
as fresh. And so
Mhm.
one, it does actually make me hungrier.
Mm.
I can tend to make poor food choices when I'm really
Yes.
tired. And then also I'm more likely to say, I'm going to skip that workout. I'm not going to
Mhm.
do that because I don't feel refreshed.
Mhm.
And so that's something that I really do. I don't use the app, and I'm interested to see. You said that you use the WW app with the sleep and you track your
For
sleep.
tracking, yeah, I track the sleep every night.
See, I
Uh,
don't know how, maybe I don't know how to do that right. I mean, I guess it's just
uh-huh.
pressing a button because
Yeah.
I don't wear my Apple Watch to bed. And that's
Okay.
something that you can use to
Oh,
track your sleep.
well, think you can through Apple's app, but I actually, how when they made that adjustment and now your activity is on the main page when you
Yeah.
scroll down past dinner, past snacks,
Yeah.
there's activity I think is on the left, and on the right is sleep. And it'll usually say zero sleep or like no sleep log. So I just click on it. And then it asks me what time I went to bed the night before, what time I woke up, and then it calculates the hours, and then it does ask you how much time you spent awake through the night. So let's say
So
usually for
how would
me
you
it's
know that?
I think sometimes sometimes I drink a lot of water at night, and then I know that I got up to use the bathroom, and then let's say I had a hard time falling asleep, I'll estimate like I was up an extra 30 minutes in between, but typically I don't count anything in between unless
Okay.
I know I was up for a while. And then it just calculates it and gives me the whatever points get fit the points. I think it's 5 points.
I've been
However
losing
many
ways to
points
get
you
points. Well,
Yes.
because I thought it was a like, I was like, I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna open the WW app and tell the WW app that I'm sleepy and
No,
button, and then I wake up the next day and say, "Hello, WW, I woke up." Like, I just
no,
wasn't doing
it's not
that.
that complex. It's like I remember that I put my phone down and turned the light out at 10:15 at night, and then my alarm went off at 6, but I was awake a little bit before, so 5:45 I woke up. An estimate usually, and it just gives you. It may even be 1 point. Anyone who knows can correct me in the
Okay.
comments, but
And if you do have a smartwatch, I know some people have the Fitbits and the Apple Watches. I know that
yes,
if you sleep in them, I just don't because my Apple Watch will die if I don't
Me
charge
too.
it.
Yeah.
Um, it can calculate and tell you when you fell asleep and woke up. So,
And I'd imagine just like activity, you can sync that
mhm,
to your WW app, but like you, I charge my watch at night. I don't sleep in it, so that's
right.
why I enter it manually. I do it almost every day.
Well, do you find based on since it's actually something that you've tracked, do you
Mm-hmm.
find do you, even I don't know if you actually track even like your naps or things, but do you find that when you give yourself not only adequate sleep, but rest, even like you said on the weekends or at other
Mm-hmm.
times, how do you feel that that affects you positively or negatively?
Yeah, I notice that some weekends, if I'm really like, or like even weeknights, if I stay up later, I'm less energetic. And like you said, I'm less likely to do a workout when I get home. I'm less likely to move as much at work, even like if I feel lethargic. Usually, if I'm up and moving around, I actually don't notice it as much. But the second I sit down, I'm like, oh man, this day is going by slow and
Mhm.
it's a lot more of a challenge. But I noticed a huge difference when I switched jobs earlier this year. I switched from one school to another and they had different start times. And I mean, I went from working out every morning and I probably did go to bed a little bit earlier because I knew I was doing that. And I had a later start time. So I didn't have to wake up that much earlier than I do now. And I worked out, I mean, fairly consistent 3, 4, sometimes 5 weekday mornings. Um, and it was a great feeling to start my day and get that done. But the second I switched back to my school, which I'm happy that had that opportunity, I just got out of the habit because I would have had to wake up probably 30, 45 minutes to an hour earlier
Mhm.
to get to work on time and get the workout in. So, like, the timing of work makes a huge difference because
Mhm.
I'm only willing to go to bed so early the night
Mhm.
before.
Mhm. Yeah, and I think that, like you said, making sure that you fit when you try to fit things in, and
Hmm.
that's one of the things that I had to look at between morning exercise and evening exercise for myself. Like I tend
Yeah.
to, my day is unpredictable, so it's hard for me to know when um, I'm going to be able to get a workout in if I don't get it in the morning. But
Hmm.
sometimes if I've not slept very well the night before, if I feel like I need that extra time to
Hmm.
kind of rest, it can be tough to kind of um, make that choice,
Yeah.
because there's pros and cons. And that
Hmm.
kind of brings me to the next kind of thing that I wanted to talk about, which is the flip side of that. Do you think I will speak for myself that sometimes I can be negatively impacted on the rare occasions that I might give in and have too much rest
Hmm.
or not
Hmm.
movement, because
Yes.
that can steer you to staying stagnant. And I think that
Hmm.
there have been times in my life where, they talk about sitting is the new, um, what is it? Something negative, like
Um,
sitting is the new cancer or the new heart
yes.
disease or something.
Yes. Something like that.
It's very, but basically in mobility, not
Smoking.
smoking. Thank you. I knew it was something
Mhm.
negative. But how being stagnant, not moving around, not getting your
Mhm.
steps, not doing those things can be tied to negative outcomes with your
Mhm.
health.
Yeah.
And sometimes, that's something that can happen too, and I wonder if you do give in and start that habit, is that something that
Mhm.
it can be something that can be hard to break, you know,
Absolutely. And
and
I think too, like it's other things kind of flow in that negative way too. Once that happens, like, am I like so lazy I don't want to get water? Then I feel a little dehydrated. Or I notice sometimes too, if I've been sitting too long, I feel like stiff, or I feel like I need the need to stretch or something, and I don't feel like it, which makes it harder to move in
Mhm.
that sense. And I don't know if that's something that just happens as you get older, or if it's just a reflection of a couple of days, maybe missing a workout or something like that. But yeah, I think it makes it harder to move when you don't move.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And again, I guess it's about finding that balance. Like, it's like, okay,
Hmm.
I don't want to be where I have to be going all the time and I can't
Hmm.
sit down, but I also don't want to be the extreme of I'm always laying every time someone checks on me, every time I'm in bed or in front
Mhm.
of the TV and not doing something.
Mhm.
There's that happy medium. And,
Yeah.
putting in those things in place. And that's one of the things that I do appreciate about I am an Apple Watch user.
Mhm.
And I know Fitbit does the same, and for those who don't have fitness watches, because not everybody's into that, I'm just a techie. I love stuff, but it'll say, time for you to stand up. Have you stood
Mhm.
up recently? Sometimes I ignore it, but it's a good reminder,
Mhm.
if you haven't been getting in that movement throughout the day to
Mhm.
say, is it time for me to go and just take a 5-minute walk or to
Mhm.
march in place?
Yeah.
Or am I going to, or today's a tough day and I need to rest and I don't care what it says,
Mhm.
and being okay with that too. You
Yeah.
know?
I think sometimes movement can be the best medicine because I think sometimes when we do rest too much, it's almost like not that I could ever clinically diagnose anyone, but sometimes it's kind of like, am I depressed? And I
Yeah.
like, am I staying in this bed and sleep? Because I think sometimes I tend to be an early riser, and even if I'm a little tired and I like to take my naps, but there's been some times where I'm like, okay, I slept until 11 o'clock this day, and your body kind of just, at least for me, will fall back asleep, and it's like,
Mhm.
okay, is this truly rest, or am I just like, are my thoughts overtaking me in like, oh, I'm frustrated with this. Oh, I'm frustrated with this. Let me sleep.
Mhm.
Am I using this as a way to avoid processing my frustration or
Mhm.
my sadness or whatever it is in that moment?
Mhm.
And is there a little bit of depression that's keeping me from getting up? And I think those are the times we need to get up, to call a friend, to like
Yeah.
go for a 5-minute walk, like really call it what it is. Am I tired
Mhm.
or is something else going on?
Because you can rest and not be rested. You can,
Mhm.
and that goes into some of the tools I know that WW uses. And then also I have a Peloton, so I have the Peloton app. But
Mhm.
when it comes to mindfulness and meditation, when I think about the things I use to truly take advantage, because sometimes I can't turn my brain off.
Yeah.
And so part of the busyness that you have, whereas you talk about it might be like a depressive state for some when it
Mhm.
when it comes to over rest and too much. I think
Mhm.
sometimes the desire not to rest could also be um, trying to avoid like your own thoughts and your own mind.
Mhm.
You don't know how to turn things off.
Yeah.
You don't know how to get it to stop, and that's why I've been using meditation
Mhm.
recently, or let me be honest, trying
Mhm.
to use meditation
Mhm.
as a way to quiet my mind, even if I'm not going into a deep peaceful sleep, but
Mhm.
just be still. And
Mhm.
I know WW has that on the app. They have a lot of the mindful and the meditations that you can do. Some are 5 minutes, some are 10, but something about that calming
Mhm.
voice to kind of say it's okay for you to just be here in this moment. You might hear noises, you might hear things, but
Mhm.
stay present, stay here.
Mhm.
It's something that I'm trying to use too, because I think that too much or too little is usually from a place of avoidance,
Mhm.
a place of people pleasing, a place of not being okay with yourself and your needs and your
Mhm.
stillness.
Yeah.
And all of it needs to be addressed.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So when you're in a state where you can't get the rest that you need, I've heard some really great pieces of advice. I don't know if you've had any other advice, but I know I've heard that you should get out of the space that you're in, and like, maybe if it's you're trying to sleep in your bed, you walk out, like, I don't know, go downstairs and read a page of a book and then go back, like, as a reset. I've heard that before.
Mhm.
I've never actually tried anything like that. Thankfully, that hasn't been an issue for me, at least
Right.
lately. But have you gotten any really good advice about how to help with sleep issues?
My new thing is essential oils.
Okay.
I really like lavender. They were talking about how
Mhm.
certain scents can kind of have that calming effect. That's why a lot of times, maybe if you go to the bath aisle when you're taking a bubble bath, they'll
Mhm.
have lavender scents or things that are supposed to help put you into that kind of state.
Mhm.
And then I do agree with people who say associating like technology,
Mm.
taking technology out of the room.
Yeah.
a lot of us have TVs that are there, and
Mhm.
our phones are. I mean, we have our phones like attached to us. So being able, and something about that light, that light from the phone and stuff can really mess with your ability to kind of really get a good quality sleep or to put yourself in that state. And at first I thought that was like rubbish, but when I
Mhm.
actually paid attention to it and made a concerted effort to stop doing that, I did find my sleep was more restful.
Okay.
So,
Yeah.
but the point is, we are deserving of sleep. We are
Mhm.
deserving of rest. It's not just sleep, but we're deserving of movement when it's
Mhm.
necessary, the busyness of life, but also the stillness of it. And there's
Mhm.
beauty in both.
It's
And that's
absolutely.
what I'm hopeful that people can remember and learn, that it doesn't matter what other people think about you if you decide to do the rest or if you decide to move. Regardless,
Mhm.
whatever you decide, it's kind of like it's what's best for you,
Mhm.
you know.
Yeah. I think that applies to vacation and to like days off, things like that, like
Yeah.
too, because I think there's all this pressure sometimes to like just constantly be there for people. But even when we take days off, there's sometimes the opposite pressure of like, oh, you're not going anywhere, you're not traveling, you're not. My rest can look different. Other people, it might be on a beach or like in a foreign country or at a ski lodge or whatever it is. But I think we underestimate how much rest can be done, even just doing a little staycation or like going somewhere you haven't been in a while, going to a national the museums downtown. It doesn't have to be some extravagant vacation, which I'm not knocking that. I'd love that. I love travel as well, but a rest can also be just doing something you love that you haven't gotten a chance to do in a while.
And there is no reward for like people who are proud to say, I have all of this saved vacation I haven't used at work. Your
Right.
employer is super proud of you. But that's not anything to be proud of. I had to
Hmm.
learn, I mean, use those days that you get.
Hmm.
And you don't have to explain anything. Like
Hmm.
that's the beauty. I don't have to tell you where I'm going. Like you said,
Hmm.
I could be sitting right on my couch and painting my nails. And that's what I'm doing for you. Don't get to
Exactly.
know that. It doesn't have to be this big elaborate thing.
Hmm.
And I think that I was one for a long time who was really proud of all the PTO that I had, all the paid time off that I wasn't using. And then I said, who is this benefiting?
Hmm.
They
Yeah.
they are going to replace me very quickly if anything ever happens.
Hmm.
If God forbid anything happens to me, they'll be very sad for a second, and then they will refill my position. Take the vacation, take the sick day,
Hmm.
take a mental health day.
Hmm.
There's a thing
Yeah.
for that. So I like I said, it makes sense. We know it, but the application is something that I am working on.
Hmm.
And I'm encouraging anybody who's listening to not be like Candace or even Ricky sometimes
Hmm.
and feel the need to explain to anybody why you make the choice to either rest or to move, but to make sure
Hmm.
that it's for a reason that sits with you and that makes sense. It's
Exactly.
important. The balance is important.
Yeah, very much so.
So, well, this is a good chat. It's a good chat. Like
Yeah.
I said, I feel less alone. I was really glad that I asked the question. I'm glad that, we kind of talked it out because it affects so many areas. And I'm hopeful that
Hmm.
this week our action item is to rest
Yes.
and also to move.
Yes.
To
I
figure out.
love it. Two great things that don't have to be in opposition to each
Yeah.
other.
So, Ricky, why don't you tell people how they can find us if they want to connect?
All right. So we have so many ways to connect to you. We'd love to connect with you guys on our Facebook group, Real WW Talk. We also have the podcast. You can listen Spotify, anywhere you like to listen to podcasts. We're on Instagram at Real WW Talk. And if you'd like to email us at realwwtalk@gmail.com. And we're also on Connect.
Wonderful. And like I said, we were hopeful. We're speedy recovery to Aaron.
Yes.
Hopefully, we'll all three be back with you soon. But until then, you all stay safe and we will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.